You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you. Thank you for being here with us. It's going to be a great show today. We've got a lot of great things planned for you. Well, the news makes itself, so it kind of helps what our conversation is going to be about each and every day, and that's what this is. It's Sudbury News Talk. It's a conversation about the issues and news that happens each and every day that affects us, that we need to unpack and understand and not just have sound bites about and be okay with it. Maybe we have questions. And so that's what this show is all about. And you are able to ask questions. We're able to discuss things. Not that I'm able to answer all the questions. I can only answer a few. And the answers a lot of times come from yourselves and experiences that you have, and gain insights into, or just even ask more questions that then again we leave the show and we go and do our own investigating on the different topics that we're looking at to try to understand the world we live in, whether it's local, regional, provincial, national, international issues that we face. It all affects us. And I don't know if we've noticed or not, but the last 4 years have been very interesting. So, it just makes more questions than answers. And so here we are, Sudbury News Talk, each and every weekday morning at 96.7 FM, CKLU on the radio. We're also streaming at cklu.ca. Click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can download that app also. So you can stream us by clicking on it, download it, bring us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also streaming live video at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, and comment, because I do notice the comments are on today. They weren't, I think, Monday or no, I wasn't on Monday, so maybe Friday. They weren't working, but they are today. So make sure to comment. We'll do our best to read the comments for those on the radio and listening audio, podcast version, if you will, live on cklu.ca, and I'll get them up on the screen for those who are viewing. So that way, if I can't read them, you can, if you're listening, you can go back and go to Sudbury News on Facebook, facebook.com/Sudbury News, or youtube.com/Sudbury News, and you can see the show later if you're interested in some of the comments, what people are saying about what we're talking about. This is your show. It's your conversation on your station. We're going to dive right in. We got a great show planned for you today. A little follow-up on yesterday. Bit of a podcast segment we were playing where Joe Rogan, most popular podcast in the world, basically talking about what he feels about our current leader, Justin Trudeau. And it isn't good. Spoiler alert, if you haven't been on the last two shows. So this particular podcaster is commenting on Joe Rogan's comments, and it's telling as well, because he's American, and it shows a little bit about, when you're living in Canada, you don't really, it's kind of like you can't see the forest because of the trees. You're in it, but if you have a bird's eye view of things going on, or an outside point of view, that's what Canada used to be good at. Used to be good at being unbiased and looking at all the issues. And we were kind of like able to look at the world from a Canadian perspective. The world would come to us through the news, and we were able to have a really rounded perception of the world we live in. But as of late, things are not going that way. The media is not the same as it was before, and it's through a different lens. It's coming at us through a lens. It shouldn't be even going through a lens. It should just be unbiased information gathering that we receive. But unfortunately, it's not. And so this is a perspective of some people living in the United States, one being Joe Rogan, looking at some of the things that are going on in Canada. And things are going on in Canada that are interesting. They're very interesting. We are going into an interesting, might I say, communistic kind of a government. It just is. Like, if you understand what that is, what that means, it's not like calling someone a Nazi and not really knowing what a Nazi is or whatever. It's not calling someone, oh, you're a communist. It's not about that. It's about you're actually following the playbook of the communistic type policies that you're shutting down the media. You are introducing education to young people that is unprecedented, and you're drastically changing the education system to more of an ideology rather than just education. So that's one other communistic type thing. You get them while they're young. The economy, the taxation, the idea of a living wage, that's all communistic. Everyone's equal in terms of everyone's equally poor. So a living wage is not that much money, but it's free money, your money, again, right? So, and then this whole idea that's even above and beyond communism is the medical assistance in dying for everybody. We'll be talking a little bit about that today. The unprecedented immigration that's putting such a strain on our housing system and a strain on our economy. I'd like to know how much it costs for each immigrant, each new Canadian who comes to Canada. I'd like to know what it costs. What is the cost per new Canadian to Canada? Because I love immigration. It happens. It's happened. This country was built on it. However, it has succeeded because things have been done in a sound way. But right now is not a sound way. Things like we're struggling to have this very aggressive immigration policy that we have. Did you know that we've had more people come in the country in the last 3 months? Like almost 500,000 people have come into this country in 3 months. The last 3 months, which is more than any year's record of new Canadians coming here, immigrants. During what? The largest housing crisis we've ever faced in history. So just a few things. That's just skimming the top. That's just a drop in the bucket for what's going on in this country. I just shake my head. Again, if your goal was to take a country and change it from socialist to communist, then that's exactly what's happening right now in our country, according to what the government is doing, not according to how I feel, or I woke up upset about Justin Trudeau this morning and I just wanted to call him a name or something. No, it's due to communistic type governance. Done. And a lot of people love communism. I know a lot of people who love communism. They want this country to be communist. They feel the unicorn and rainbow utopian communism has never been done before, and we might be able to achieve it, right? It doesn't make sense. It's never made sense. It's never worked. We would be the first to make it work and have a vibrant, healthy, free, communistic kind of society. What do they call it? Democratic socialism. Bernie Sanders is so famous for coining. But anyways, I digress in a way. But if you're interested in that kind of stuff, we'll have more of that towards the end of the show after some of our local headlines, local weather, sports, local headlines. We'll do a bit of a deep dive and then continue that tomorrow as well. So if that interests you, stick with us. We'll be back right after the weather. Stay with us. Currently right here in Greater Sudbury, it's minus 12 degrees, but it feels like minus 19. Yes, very cold. And but yesterday afternoon was very mild. It was like +3 or +5 even. It was very mild. Today it's sunny, and the wind chill will feel like -21 this morning, -11 in the afternoon. So very bitter, kind of cool. But tonight, the low will be -12. The wind chill will be near -16, and then tomorrow a mix of sun and cloud, light winds, and the high will be -6. The wind chill will feel like -15 in the morning, then -8 in the afternoon. A long look at your forecast here. Mix of sun and cloud again tomorrow. -6 is your high. Cloudy and +1 on Saturday. +2 and cloudy on Sunday. Showers on Monday. 60% chance with a high of +4. +2 and a chance of showers. 40% chance of showers on Tuesday. 60% chance of flurries on Wednesday. So Christmas Day looking like going to be showers. 60%. So pretty good chance there's going to be showers. Christmas Day right here in Greater Sudbury. And a couple days after that, we'll get the flurries. 60% chance on Wednesday. Anyways, it's the winter solstice starting today. Today, tomorrow, the next day, winter solstice, the shortest days of the year. Good news is after these days, the days get longer, and that's just a good thing, right? And then we work our way towards the summer solstice in June, where it's the longest day. So and the cycle continues. Look at your satellite here over Northern Ontario. There's some clearing that we're going to be experiencing today, and then it's just clouds all around us that we'll be getting after a little bit of clearing today. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of sports right after this. Okay, and your Sudbury Wolves are in action December the 29th right here in Greater Sudbury. They're going to be at home against the North Bay Battalion. You're going to want to get your tickets early for that and get out and support the Sudbury Wolves. They're doing pretty good this year. They're going to be missing a couple players, though, at the World Juniors, so there'll be a couple players short, but they got a good roster, and a lot of other teams will be missing some players as well, so it usually balances out. So make sure to get the family together this holiday season and secure your tickets to the Wolves December 29th game. They're on sale now online by visiting greatersudbury.ca/tickets or in person at the Greater Sudbury Arena box office. And so the day before that, the Sudbury Five, they're starting their season. Let me get their logo up here. I didn't want to forget to do that. The Sudbury Five will be in action December the 28th. They're going to kick off their 2023-24 season on home court against the London Lightning. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Don't miss out on the three-pointers, buzzer beaters, and end-to-end action. It's not too late to give the gift of five basketball this season with their great gift ideas at the5.ca. Gear up for the Five's home opener and visit Greater Sports, located in the new Sudbury Center, and online at greatersports.ca. That's where you can get all Sudbury Fives, Sudbury Spartans, Sudbury Wolves, and soon to be our new soccer team, all of the paraphernalia of them. So we also had speaking of soccer, we had a Sudbury soccer star visiting Sudbury yesterday, I believe, or the day before, either one. I think it was yesterday. But anyway, CTV Northern Ontario has that scoop on her visiting, and we'll leave it to them. And we'll be back right after this.
Students were abuzz for a special assembly inside the gym at École Secondaire Macdonald Cartier.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better model, right? Great athlete and great person, and just has accomplished so much. Was very resilient in her road towards her goals.
Chloe Lacasse once walked these halls as a student. Since then, she's played on the world stage and worn the maple leaf. There's something about the words on the screen, once a Panther, always a Panther, that could inspire even the most amateur of soccer players.
I have followed her. Of course, you follow someone that comes from your town, I watched little clips in here and there when I could, and it's truly amazing how far she's come.
She's had a banner year, her first major international tournament and signing with Arsenal, and now Chloe has come home. This is truly a full circle moment for Lacasse, who's played for and against some of the best soccer players in the world. At such a young age, with such a remarkable resume, she's come home to tell other Panthers to reach for their dreams.
Donner la chance de jouer sur comme un global stage, disons.
It's chances like these to talk to young people that make it the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I think it's important to have those shared experiences and be able to inspire and motivate future generations. It doesn't have to be as a soccer player, but also just like the journey I've had, how I got there. I think it can resonate with a lot of the kids.
Lacasse has aspirations to compete for Canada at the Olympics. Before leaving, she also presented the school with signed jerseys. She's seen the growth of soccer firsthand in Sudbury.
I was with the Greater Sudbury Club and just seeing the infrastructure, the new coaches, and just the environment those kids have in comparison to what we had back in the day. It shows that this small community is developing and they are passionate about soccer.
Lacasse says she's proud of her roots, but on a day like today, no one, it seems, is more proud than this student body in the school that helped send her on her way. Ian Campbell, CTV News, Sudbury.
So congratulations, Chloe Lacasse, being back in Sudbury, giving a presentation there to the students' school that she went to. And it's great to see people having success from right here in Greater Sudbury. And speaking of success, we'll be back with you guys, who I actually believe you guys commenting on the show each and every day is a great success for this particular thing that we're doing here. So we'll be back with your comments and news headlines, local headlines, and much, much more right after this. Yes, again. So every day we do this show, I learn so much from our conversations that we have, and it's a robust conversation. Now, so many comments are coming in. I do my best to especially for new people, to make sure that we recognize that you're on here and that your point of view matters. But sometimes as we're getting into a conversation, or we need to get moving forward with what we're talking about, local headlines, other headlines, the news, basically, we kind of have to move on and really, I'm not able to get to all the comments all the time, but I do my best to get them all up on the screen. So with that, Judy, first to the Facebook party this morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Monique, good morning, with a sunshine emoji. Much appreciated. Belinda, good morning. Usually has a positive statement each and every morning. You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. Choose your battles wisely. That's a little different spin on a positive statement. So I also look at that as when you're driving in the car of life, don't be always looking in the rear view mirror all the time, right? Because you could, first of all, it's dangerous. You need to be paying attention to what's coming and not be stuck in the past. And this is kind of similar. Don't be throwing stones at every dog that barks at you. Choose your battles wisely. Choose your battles wisely, period, is a very important thing. So thanks for that, Belinda. Leond, the outcome of the attack on Israel, I think it would have been much different or prevented if they would have had a law for carrying arms for Israelis. Yes, that's what we were talking about yesterday. And somebody, one of you guys shared a video from John Stossel, one of my favorite reporters, on this, and it was about teachers, the idea of teachers carrying guns, at least in the United States, and how controversial the one side looked at as being, how could you do this? It's dangerous and whatever. And then they showed the facts of, if teachers were to carry guns, all of these school shootings would have been very much minimized. The damages of them would have been very minimized, and the teachers would have been able to protect the children. Again, right? Controversial. A lot of people in Sudbury, when you talk about carrying guns, it's just this thing that's been kind of taught to us. It's a part of our culture that you should be afraid of guns. Guns are bad. I don't know where it all came from, but we put forth the idea that, what if it was a law that you had to carry a gun instead of a law that you can't? Because the Trudeau government is putting forward a bill again to take away law-abiding citizens guns in the bill C-21. They just basically put a huge net out there, and they said we just want to get every gun possible, and then the ones that people fought back on they took off the paper. But what's up with that? I didn't even mention that at the beginning of an interesting thing. If you're talking about a communist society, that's one thing a communist dictatorship does is take away their guns. So again, if you say that in and of itself, people go, "What? Just because they're worried about guns doesn't mean they're communist." Sure, you're right. It doesn't mean that. But if you put that with every single thing else they're doing, then you start seeing the picture that's being painted, right? All of the things that they're doing. It's not just one. It's almost like they're trying to do it in record time without just militarily taking over, by force. They're just, Canadians are so laid back and lethargic and non-involved that will just take anything. So they're taking advantage of that. We'll just let anyone do anything to us, kind of thing, right? Culturally, that's what we've been known for. So it is what it is. But thanks for that. Much appreciated. And yes, you are right. Israel went through their thing like that too. And now they're actually thinking of allowing people to carry weapons for that reason. Good morning, everyone, from Barrie. That's Marianne. Much, much appreciated. And liked and shared as well. Thank you so much. And Trevor sharing a video as usual. So I encourage everyone, Canadian Citizens Inquiry. So that would be the National Citizens Inquiry, I believe. You want to check that out, and hopefully I'll be able to get that link. Every time I go back after to watch the video and get your link, Facebook scrubs it off from what I've been able to see. So hopefully it stays on and I'm able to check that out. If it's a video you want me to maybe even play on the show, you can email me at sudburynews@gmail.com or message me on Messenger. Email is preferred because it's easier to play on the show. Messenger, sometimes it's harder to share from my Messenger. But thanks for that, Trevor. Liked and shared. Yes, thank you, Marianne and Liette. Good morning, everyone, from Collingwood. Peace sign. Chris, everything JR said was pretty spot on. We're headed in a terrible direction as a nation. Joe Rogan you're referring to, that is correct. He's not the most popular podcast for no reason. He actually resonates with people like ourselves who think he's got a lot of common sense. Sure, he's not perfect. He's a lot of common sense. He's great guests on his show. And he's not a fan of our government, as we've talked on this show. There's a lot of reasons why not to be. And we need to, as citizens, stand up to things that aren't for our benefit. Dennis, good morning, everyone. And Merry Christmas to all from London. Yes, thank you, Dennis, for being with us again. Monique. Yep, that's their plan. Grand rising, everyone. Monique, thanks for being with us. Good morning, everyone, from Denise. Good morning, Maurice. I like when you guys both come on together because your names rhyme, so that's pretty cool. Sunshine emoji. Denise, we have illegals also. Yes, that's a whole other thing, right? So we have legal immigration, which we're very aggressive on bringing so many new people here. They have the reasons for it, but it doesn't look like they're prepared for it, which is fine, but just be prepared for it and think of the whole scenario before you go doing something that aggressive. We have illegals for sure, yeah. That's a whole other ball of wax, and many of them. And I think they're just using Canada to get here originally, and then their destination is the United States right after us. So they're looking at our border as being something now. They're going to be more security there and whatever in the future. So it's not good for our border between the United States and Canada. The definition of a fool is knowing the truth, seeing the truth, but still believing lies. And I would think that is 100% true. Morning, Vin. Thanks for being with us. And Dennis says, Sudbury has changed a lot. There's so many people in Sudbury now, and there are. I believe there's more than what says on the sign. There's no doubt about it, just from my personal beliefs of how busy the roads are. All of the international students we have at our schools. We do, I would say, and I do have some, I still have to look into it. A close friend of mine said they actually have proof that we are already over the 200,000 mark. Although Mayor Paul Lefebvre says he has a goal to bring us to 200,000. So I don't understand. I'm going to have to look into that myself. Blessings from Espanola. That is from Denise. Thank you for being with us. That's right. The border is open in Quebec. And many people coming into Niagara Falls in Ontario. Anyways, I know they've had many issues there. And paying for hotel rooms for whether it's illegal or legal immigrants. It's hard enough to get a hotel in Niagara Falls. And the government is paying for hotels for people. That's why I said I want to know the cost for each and every, whether it's illegal or legal immigrant in Canada. What is the cost? Yearly cost, monthly cost? I don't know. Just give me, what does it cost taxpayers? Because there's healthcare, there's lodging, there's food, there's everything. When a lot of people come here, they don't come already with resources, a job. They're not able to buy a house. Who can buy a house these days? So there's all kinds of things. So there's cost, there's a strain on our social system, right? Our social safety net is going towards helping people, which, you want to help people, but what is the cost of that? We just want to know. I think it's our right to know what each particular new Canadian costs Canadians. Now, sure, that there's maybe a long-term return on that, and that's fine. We understand that too. But what's the initial cost? We at least need to know that, and we need to know what you're projecting to be the return on the investment, right? The sign on 144 still says 167 needs to be an update for sure. And they're saying it's only like 170 right now. Give me a break. I grew up in Valley East, and that's just, it was very, traffic there was so minimal when I was growing up as a teenager, and it was maybe 150, 160 then. And it's not only 7,000 more in the whole city. It's incredible. Something's up with that. I don't know why. The city has more people in it than what it says on the sign. There's no doubt about it. Monique says, if you notice, well-dressed and healthy the newcomers are here in Sudbury, hard to say they need 20,000 in their account. So again, right, I'm not aware of how much money they're able to get from the system, our system. I don't know all of that. I would like, if some of you know and are able to send me some of that material, it would be great, just so I can do a little bit of math. I'll have to do a little bit of digging too. Then it says, I used to be white Italian natives when I grew up in Sudbury, but now Sudbury is overpopulated with immigrants, even where immigrants to this country also. Okay. I think I know what you're saying. There's a lot more people from a lot of other countries in Sudbury, again, which isn't bad in and of itself. It's not a bad thing. There are pros and cons to the aggressive immigration. There are pros to it as well. But again, I would just like to do an assessment of how we're doing with it. It doesn't look like we're doing these things these days. We're not really looking at things. We're just going ahead and saying, yeah, no, the economy needs it. Let's just do it. Okay. Anyone who's saying anything other than that is racist. And it's like, no. I just want to know what the cost is. What's the return on investment? What's your plan? What's your plan? What does it look like in the future for us, according to you? Because you're making huge decisions that are affecting our future. And we just really want to know what the plan is. Do you got a plan? And what is it? How are we going to make this work? Because there's real world stuff. It's not just unicorns and rainbows. It's great to think of unicorns and rainbows, but we also need to know how it's actually going to work out, right? Practically. So a few more comments coming in here, and then I gotta move on now. There's a lot of comments. Holy moly. Thank you guys for commenting. I really appreciate that. Continue. I got my work cut out for me now, getting everyone's comments up on the screen while we go through some of the news headlines. This one coming in from Sudbury.com. Opioid crisis. child vaccine gap top of mind for new top doc, right? So the opioid crisis and the pandemic caused a gap in childhood vaccination are top of mind issues for the region's incoming medical officer of public health and districts that was announced on December 13th. Mustafa Hijiri, not 100% knowing how to pronounce his last name at the moment, but obviously he'll be in the news enough to know how to pronounce it in the future, was selected to take over from Dr. Penny Sutcliffe as the new top doctor in the area, and he's slated to become the new top dog in 2004 in March, following Sutcliffe's retirement after more than 20 years in the role. As we know, she had made a couple of years ago during the pandemic over $800,000, to which we're still wondering why or how that happened and why at that time in particular she made over $800,000 in 1 year. You know, I still haven't gotten an answer myself. It was because she did. Hey, Jimmy, good morning. Thanks for being on with us. Good to see you. First time, and you're on YouTube. So yeah, we still have questions about that, and we were told it's because she had a lot of Zoom meetings and a lot of overtime, which many people did during the pandemic, right? But I don't think they were paid $800,000. And where did that money come from? Oh yeah, it came from us. That's right, because it's paid by you with your tax dollars. So anyone who pays someone else with your tax dollars is accountable to who? Yeah, that's right. They're accountable to you. And I wonder why we're not able to get some of this information. It's just interesting. So anyways, so after Sutcliffe's retirement, we have our new leader of health here in Sudbury. He is the former associate medical officer of health for Niagara Region Public Health. He sat down with Sudbury.com earlier in the week to discuss his new role and some of the priorities he has coming in the job. So I guess vaccines and the opioid crisis is top of mind for him, and we'll have more on the opioid crisis right now from CTV. They're going to be planning a special memorial here in Sudbury for those people that are, have gone on before us and, succumb to their opioid addictions. It's an issue. It's obviously been a crisis. It is an epidemic. And anyways, so we have some Sudburyans planning a memorial in their honor. We'll be back right after. And again, CTV has this story for us here.
As vehicles drive through this busy downtown intersection, there is a stark reminder of the community's drug crisis. The more than 270 crosses represent individuals who've died of opioid overdose over the past several years.
There's more and more crosses every week. And so I think that especially with our community, there is a lot of loss. Because of that opioid crisis, because of the challenges that our guests face, there's a lot of collective loss.
That loss prompted Robichaud to plan the Elgin Street Mission's first memorial service for later this week.
We're going to be able to give physical hugs to one another, that they're not alone, which I think is most important to people, especially at a bereaved or Blue Christmas. And then perhaps most importantly, we're going to identify that these people were loved and they're not forgotten. If there's one thing mums and dads have told me through my work, is that they want to make sure that name, that relationship is maintained.
Robichaud says there's been a lot of loss in the community, and in particular, many who are connected to the Elgin Street Mission.
We wanted to do something special for our guests. It's especially hard for them at Christmas. And so we acknowledge that with them, and we want to celebrate and do something a little more somber and just honor those who have kind of gone before us.
We see those white crosses on a daily basis, and they represent people, they represent sons and daughters, family members, and so she thought it would be very important at this time, Advent season, Christmas coming, that we as a community gather, to remember those people, to support their families.
The memorial is set for 4:30 this Friday afternoon at Tom Davies Square. Robichaud says it's for anyone who has lost a loved one to the opioid crisis. Angela Gemmel, CTV News, Sudbury.
All right, and thanks to Angela Gemmel for that from CTV News. We're grateful for the work that they do and providing news to our community, as we are for all of our journalists, Sudbury.com, Sudbury Stars, CBC, and CBC Northern Ontario. So thank you so much for the journalism that you do here in the city. Other headlines, looking at Sudbury News, Sudbury.news. Here we go. It's if you haven't been there yet, it aggregates all the local news right in one spot. Now that we can't share media anymore on Facebook and Instagram, it's a great way to get your news. So anyways, a closer look at property tax hike here in Greater Sudbury, right? So we're going to be increasing the taxes. We looked at even just property taxes alone will bring in over $10 million in 1 year to the city. It's only $312 per home that costs per family, that costs $350,000 per se. But anyways, it says if you want more on that, you can click on it, and CTV covered that story as well. And its chair, Deb McIntosh, speaking to Brandon Connor about the $780 million budget for next year. So $780 million is $220 million shy of $1 billion. $1 billion. So it's very close to $1 billion, the budget in this city. That's a lot of money. It's not chump change, that's for sure. So there's a lot riding on the decisions that the city council are making. And hopefully we'll be able to have, I know Mike has, he's basically volunteered to come on the show and talk more about that and the issues that we're facing. I know the safe consumption site is top of mind for a lot of people, talking about the opioid crisis, and they were looking for money from the city because the province hasn't been giving any money to them for whatever reason. They promised it at the beginning and then happened to not follow through on that promise. We're not sure why. But again, right, the idea of safe consumption opposing the idea of rehabilitating, rehabilitating rather than just consuming safely. It's a health related issue. So hopefully our new leader of our public health here will be able to look at this situation in a more rehabilitative way and say, yeah, the person is very important here and we need to help them. And good morning, Brian. Thanks for being with us. We do need to help them. And it's just a different way. And I know the conversation is, you guys are having a great conversation here, and there's a lot of deep stuff about the world, the World Health Organization. So I think a lot of the health related things that we get here come from up there, right? So I don't think they're making decisions based on our community or based on what they think. I think they're just taking marching orders from people higher than them, or at least I don't know how WHO can be higher than anyone because they're not elected. They're, where do they come from? Like, why are they the authority on what's done, locally? Our own leaders in here in Sudbury should be able to make these decisions, but it looks like we're making the same decisions as every other city, and we see how that's going. All you have to do is look towards Vancouver and see what's going on there with the drug crisis that they have, and it's not hard to see what's going on. And unless we're going to change gears, I think it comes from the original goal of what you have. Do you really care about people? Do you really want to see them thriving and surviving? So not just surviving. Surviving is one thing, but what does that even mean? Survive to what? Survive to continue your opioid addiction? Is that really surviving? It's not thriving, that's for sure. So, okay, it needs to be, you need to keep someone alive in order to then prevent them from in the future, or giving them the opportunity to rehabilitate. So that's the first step. Yeah, so Miles, on this subject, and welcome to the show, Miles. The province pulled funding when someone was shot. Yeah, that's the reason they gave, but they had already been, not giving the funding even before that. But after the shooting took place at a safe consumption site in another community, they said that was the reason why they weren't given the funding, which I don't know. It's just questionable again, right? So some things just don't seem right. They promised the money, they weren't giving it, then a shooting took place, and then they said, well, we have to look into that before we can give any funding. But I'm not a fan of it to begin with. But if you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, that's interesting as well, right? If you're looking at it from an unbiased point of view. But sure, maybe it's one step on the road to recovery, but it's not the be all and end all of it. To just, to be an enabler to somebody's addictions. And yes and no, and you treat them with all respect and dignity. We're not talking down to people who struggle with opioid addiction. They are human beings. They deserve respect. They deserve us to help them, to keep them alive, but they also deserve us to help them get off of it if that's what they indeed want to do. Like, are we just deciding for them? You don't want to get off of it. You just want to keep consuming. Are we just deciding that for them? How much respect is that showing an individual? We need to find out from them. Do you want to get off of this? Do you want to continue doing this for the rest of your life? If it was possible, would you like to get off of this? Right? Because if you don't, you're just assuming they want to keep consuming. And how is that respect? How is that showing dignity to a person? The real dignity is saying, hey, how do you think your life is right now? Do you, if you want to keep going this way, sure, we'll do our best to keep you alive, but do you want to try to get off of this? And then have people that have done it, have overcome this severe grip that's very challenging to overcome of opioid addiction on your life, but people have overcome it. Have them, who are now going back to school and being trained and have been through it through life experience, help those, because they blaze the trail themselves. They've already done it, and they will then help others to be able to do it. In my profession, I meet so many people that have overcome addictions, and they want to help people. And they know what it takes, and they're not going to take excuses either. They're going to be that kick in the pants you need, because they needed a kick in the pants in order to do it. And I think our government, with their approach, there's no kick in the pants, because they're saying, no, it's not right to kick someone in the pants. They're just kicking taxpayers in the pants all the time. They have no problem doing that. But to actually help somebody, to help them be well, they think, oh no, you can't hurt someone's feelings by kicking them in the pants, but you can take taxpayers' money and give them a narcotic and continue their addiction. Anyways, so on those lines of where they're coming from and things, I've been an advocate against the new MAID policy, and thank you to one of our viewers who sent a video to us yesterday of a conservative MP talking about the medical assistance in dying and the legislation that's happening right now. And it goes along with all the stuff we're talking about with this ideology of, I don't know where it's coming from, but it's kind of messed. I don't know. I have all these things open over here. It's pretty crazy. It didn't have to be, but we'll close them all. And there we go. Wow, there's just so many open things here. so crazy. I don't know. I can't close these two, but it is what it is. Here's a video from the MP talking about MAID and what's going on with our federal government and their decisions they're making on it.
Unless the Liberals reverse course, Canada is set to go down a very dangerous road in March of 2024 when MAID for mental illness becomes available. Canada was set to have this radical expansion of MAID come into effect this year, but fortunately the Liberals delayed implementation by 1 year after leading experts, including the chairs of psychiatry at all 17 medical schools, said that Canada isn't ready for MAID and mental illness. And the leading medical professionals said that Canada isn't ready for two fundamental reasons. The first is that it is impossible to accurately predict irremediability. Under the law, in order to qualify for MAID, someone must suffer from an irremediable disease or illness. In other words, one must suffer from a disease or illness in which they are not going to get better and that they are in an irreversible state of decline. Medical professionals said this can't accurately be predicted, and so therefore, persons who could get better, who could go on to lead healthy and happy lives, will have their lives prematurely ended. A second fundamental problem is that it is difficult to distinguish, in the case of mental illness, between a rational request for MAID and one motivated by suicidal ideation. This is underscored by the fact that the vast majority of persons who commit suicide suffer from a diagnosable mental disorder. And you might be wondering, who would qualify for MAID and mental illness? What constitutes a mental disorder for the purpose of the law? Well, according to a task group appointed by the Liberals to establish practice standards, anyone would qualify if they suffer from a mental disorder listed in the DSM-5. What's in the DSM-5 listed as a mental disorder? Well, that includes everything from depression to having a personality disorder to being autistic to having an addictions issue. That is what we're talking about with respect to MAID and mental illness. This is radical, it's dangerous, and it's wrong. And a special joint committee that I sat on was recently established to look at whether Canada is ready for MAID and mental illness. And the committee, comprised of members of Parliament and senators, heard from experts, including leading medical professionals, who said loud and clear that Canada isn't ready. Canada's no more ready now than at the start of this past year. And the reason that Canada isn't ready is for the very same two reasons that Canada hasn't been ready up until now. The difficulty, if not impossibility, of predicting irremediability, and the difficulty in distinguishing a rational request from one motivated by suicidal ideation. And so, given that nothing is changed, I urge the Liberals to put a stop to this. There is something they can do. Canada doesn't need to go ahead with this. What the Liberals need to do is follow the evidence, stop the madness, and introduce legislation to permanently scrap this radical expansion of MAID. Persons who are suffering from mental health issues ought to be offered hope and help, not death.
And I don't know, what, there are some people that have, I guess, points of view on it where they agree with MAID, the idea to offer it for somebody who is facing imminent death and possibly a painful one. And that's what this particular person was talking about. That's the whole crux of the issue. That's what it was originally made for. No pun intended, I guess. So now they're opening it up to people with personality disorders, depression, autism, and addiction. right? So now do you see how this goes along with what we've been talking about? With the harm reduction, it's too harmful for you to put your life at risk and be taking these things. Instead of rehabilitating you, we'll offer you this medical procedure that is it's not harmful. It will take away all your pain, and you don't have to go through this. You don't have to do the hard work to overcome. We'll help you with this simple injection, and you don't have to deal with life's problems anymore. And that's exactly what the same government that talks about harm reduction is pushing this forward. So harm reduction, why? A lot of people think it's just because they care about the people. They don't want them to kill themselves, yet they're going to offer that very same solution to them through MAID. Now, if that isn't hypocritical, I don't know what is, right? And one would say, no, they can't be that evil. It just doesn't, people aren't evil like that. Well, you look at, if you start putting all the legislation that's coming through all at once, this is just one, and you look at everything they're doing, oh yeah, the picture becomes to, it's almost like the Death Star in Star Wars. As it's being created, you don't know what it is, and eventually, oh yeah, it's a planet, all right. That was their purpose from the beginning. It looks like, what are they getting at? Like, what are they trying to achieve? What's their goal, really? I know we've had Justin Trudeau said he admires the government in China. He admires them. He was almost like giddy about it when he was talking about it. Oh yeah, I like the way that they are. They can get things done. He was saying, oh yeah, because they're green. Yeah, they're green, all right. They pollute the earth more than any other country on earth by a wide margin, and they don't sign on to these climate accords or nothing because they know it's going to weaken everyone else's economy but theirs, and they'll come out on top. As we go after the unicorns and rainbows, they're actually building up a strong army, strong economy, and yeah, they don't have an immigration problem in China. I guarantee you that. And I don't know how many people are chomping at the bit to go there either. And we're talking about being a communist country. There's a reason why people really, really wanted to come here. It's because we had it right for so many years. We had a lot of things right. And we're making a lot of things wrong in a short period of time. And it's not just me. So again, to continue on the Joe Rogan podcast here with this particular I Am Coach Colin on his YouTube channel, talking about that. And that'll send us off to tomorrow's show. So yeah, we'll just check in on him. It's the conclusion of that particular podcast, and then we'll sign off.
In terms of Facebook, Instagram, the main things people use, can't see anything. What's this turning into? How bad's it going to get? I was doing another story on this a month or two back, where if you assembled a protest near people who were LGBTQ, you could be fined $25,000 and possibly spend time in jail. So that means if a bunch of people in Canada assemble and decide to protest, and there are LGBTQ people who feel uncomfortable or feel like they're being attacked, or maybe the protest is about, that, they can all be fined $25,000 a piece and possibly go to jail. What's it turning into? I don't get it. Can't wait to see Trudeau out of office and hopefully just out of the government. It seems like every government around the world has these people who are WEF, straight up. WEF, they have that in common, and they also have this thing in common where they're like the necessary evil, almost the evil that won't go away. Like Pelosi, she's in her 80s, will not go away. Trudeau, I doubt will go away. New Zealand, even though I think they have a new prime minister, the former one is not going to go away. It's just so weird that these people just pop up and will not go away, and they seem to have the worst interest of the people at heart, you know? But anyway, let me know what you guys think of Joe Rogan's podcast possibly being banned in Canada. If you're in Canada, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to VPN up? Are you going to do that? Or are you actually going to go to your local government and say, this can't stand? This cannot stand. When I'm in my house listening to trying to listen to podcasts and see news, I want to be able to see everything, because that's truly what needs to happen. A bunch of people have to start saying, if you're for this and you're not willing to speak for me against it, I cannot have you in office. That really needs to happen. Millions of people do that, you got your problem solved. But until somebody does that, it'll just be no Rogan for you guys. No Rogan for you guys. Maybe no me for you guys. Maybe what are you going to see? Mr. Sunshine Baby. If you're in Canada, you know who Mr. Sunshine Baby is. He's pretty great. He's my Canadian contact. Anyway.
So there you go. So again, he was wrapping up his comments. I just thought it was good to do that since we were watching the first part of his take on Joe Rogan's take on Justin Trudeau. And as an American, just observing these things, you're not crazy if you're seeing these things in Canada yourself and you listen to the CBC, you never know anything was wrong. Everything's right other than climate, I guess. So thanks for being with us. This is our show. This is together we do Sudbury News Talk each and every weekday morning right here on CKLU. So stay tuned now for Earshot Daily, and we'll be back same time, same place, God willing, tomorrow. So have a great Thursday, everyone, and a great beginning to the winter solstice. We'll be back tomorrow. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.